cord. Okay, so I want to talk more about that BRBC form because it is in the news. And Juan, did you get a chance to take a look at the BRBC form in depth from last week's video? I was asking everybody to make sure to get it out or download it from Zip Forms and take.
Yeah, I reviewed it.
Good. Well, I'm glad you did that because there's going to be more forms for me to share with everybody today. And so the reality of real estate is going to be scripts and dialogues. I think a lot of this for Juan, it's going to be easier for you because you don't know what we know having been in the business a while. It's harder for agents who've been in the business for a while. And the reason that I want to talk about the BRBC form with scripts and dialogues today is because it'll remove fear and doubt. By knowing information, you'll have an idea of what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. So it's kind of like a two-part bit of information that I want to give out today. I always want you to know that you can always go to CAR, California Association of Realtors, and log in there. Actually go there a lot because there's always updates. There's always information that is just so good for all agents to know. They have legal updates, they have webinars, they have seminars, they have learning. Everything you need to know about being in real estate is going to be there. So there is a quick guide that they have, and I will make a point, if you guys can't find it on your own, I'll make a point to send it to you all with this video recording. And it's a quick guide for the buyer representation and how it can work for you. And I love the legal team updates because they're not only are they important, but they're quick and to the point. They're very summarized, and I love them. So you might ask yourself, well, why should a realtor use a buyer representation agreement? Well, you want your buyer to be as committed to you as you are to them. And the buyer representation agreement establishes a contractual and agency relationship between the buyer and you, the realtor. This relationship might come in handy in the event ever of a commission procuring cause dispute. You might ask, well, what does that mean? Well, that means if Michelle and I both show a same client that we think is our own same client, a property, and one of us has a BRBC form signed by that buyer and the other one doesn't, the one that has a form signed by the buyer will be able to get a commission because there's all the legalese, all the information on that form that says why and how I'm representing that client. So it's good to get them. Why would a buyer agree to sign a buyer representation agreement? Because right now, the big question a lot of agents, seasoned agents are asking is, well, how am I going to get my client to sign this document? Well, the buyer's real estate agent or representative is committing in writing to look out for the buyer's best interests. Most buyers have no out-of-pocket costs to pay the buyer's representative fee because compensation is generally, or it used to be, or currently right now, it's generally paid for by the seller. And the real estate licensee might be more actively available to pursue all the possible leads that the buyer, for the buyer, because the compensation is not exclusively linked to that amount. If any, the seller's broker is promising to pay. So as the market conditions change, working with a real estate licensee that is contractually committed to representing the buyer can help the buyer take advantage and leverage in offer situations, or if there's multiple offer situations, a buyer is going to be better served by being able to pay for a real estate agent to represent them. Now, there are different types of buyer representation agreements that are available. I didn't know this. So buyer representation and broker compensation agreement, the BRBC, defaults to the non-exclusive representation, but it may be made exclusive by checking the applicable box. So what does that mean? That means both Michelle and I, or you and I, Juan, or you and Michelle, can have buyer representation agreements, both of you, signed by the same client. So you guys can both be representing the same client, and either one, agree to work with each other, or two, if one of you shows buyer A, house 123 Main Street, even though you both have that signed broker agreement, if you're the one that showed them that property and you write the offer for them and it gets accepted, then you're going to be the one to get the payment on that, not the other person. So it's not necessarily exclusive, which is very kind of like not great. It would be nice to have it exclusive, but at the same time, we cover a little bit more about that too. So what should be emphasized to a buyer when presenting the form to a buyer? Well, the form establishes a mutual agreement to work for and with one another. Any compensation offered by the seller's broker is credited against the buyer's obligation to pay. And it's not a guarantee, it's going to be a request. It's going to be a negotiable item. The buyer may not have to pay anything at all for the broker's services. So you can always premise that when you're using the form. Okay, buyer, I'm going to charge you $2,500 as an example. You can charge whatever you want. They can agree to whatever. We'll just say $2,500. I'm going to charge you, Mr. Buyer, or 2.5%, whichever is greater or lesser of the two. However you want to work that out, it's up to you. But even though this is a fee that you're responsible for, I will make a point to ask the seller to see if the seller will pay for it. If the seller pays for it, then you are no longer obligated to pay for that, Mr. Buyer. So that is one way you can ask the buyer to be more willing to sign that document agreeing to pay. The term of the agreement could be as long or as short as both of you agree. Some brokers might prefer to start with a short period to get to know the buyer better and find out if the buyer is serious. So in that situation, maybe you are doing Zillow calls or something, and you get a call and you meet somebody out there and you have maybe a 30-day BRBC form for them to fill out. I wouldn't do that. I think I would rather go the longer way and just say, I've established a relationship with you, or we have a communication or a rapport. This is part of my service, and my service is locked in for a year, at minimum a year. However, if things change and you want to cancel the agreement, you can cancel the agreement at any time, but I will work with you for a year exclusively, or however you want to say it. But there's no time limit on there, is what I'm saying. You can do any time frame, but you have to put it in writing on that form. Some things to emphasize when you're talking with a buyer, when you're presenting them with the forms, is the scope of the agreement can be broad. So meaning it could be just for single family homes. It can include one county or multiple. It can include multiple types of homes versus single family. It could be townhomes included, condos, mobile homes. You could be very specific. You can get down to the details of only 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom homes, or you can say it's priced within a certain price range and located within a certain city or community. You could do all of that. Whatever is written on there, should it change at any point during your representation of the client, you can always use the CAR-MT form, which is the modification of terms form. And the modification of terms form is used whenever you have a contract, like a listing agreement or a purchase agreement signed by your client, and you're on there too. The MT form is the only form that can change that particular document. So there's also sorts of forms, but there are some forms that are only exclusive or specific to change another specific form. And then signing an agreement is very common for professional services, such as with contractors, lawyers, consultants, accountants, and doctors, etc. Even if payment ultimately comes from a third party like an insurance carrier, or in this case, the seller, it's very normal to have professional forms filled out. So having a buyer representation agreement form Treat it like how you perceive attorneys or doctors and all of the legal forms that you just assume you have to sign. Treat it like that. As long as you have that confidence that that's how you're treating it, you're elevating yourself. You're not just a realtor, you're a realtor. And this is a professional business. It's a professional business that you own, and you're representing sellers and buyers and of all magnitudes of pricing, from first-time homeowners to maybe multimillionaires or investors. So treat your paperwork and your business like the business that it warrants. And that's where your confidence will come from. So are they enforceable, these agreements? Absolutely, yes. The predecessor to the current buyer representation agreement was enforced in California Court of Appeals in 2008. So there's a case called Shafter versus Creative Capital Leasing Group. And you can always Google that and see what that was all about. But that's where the BRBC form came about back in 2008. So they've been around for a long time. And we used to have 3 forms up until December of last year, or June. Yeah, December of last year is when it changed to 1 form. And then I think there were some additions to it in June of this year. Okay, so part 2 of this now is coming up here, and I wanted to have some scripts and dialogues a little bit to talk about with you guys. So we know the traditional model where sellers cover the agent commissions might give away to buyers directly compensating their agents. This shift underscores the necessity for agents to explicitly communicate the benefits and value of their services. So this is all pending the legal decisions that are happening. More companies are jumping on board to lawsuits, etc. So there's 2 more suits that are waiting in the wings right now against NAR. So it's still going to unfold, and there's going to be more as the year progresses, you know, the end of this year, and as 2024 progresses. I mean, it might even be a couple of years. One thing you guys should feel good about is that EXP is not waiting for the results before they take action. I know that this week, EXP has already been working on scripts, and they're working on other EXP forms. EXP is really good about having their own extra supplemental forms to layer onto the CAR forms. There's going to be something that is going to be excellent for listing agents to use, and something that's going to help agents representing buyers. So that way it's going to help them get a little bit more comfortable with having the conversation with agents. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, I love it. I'm so happy that EXPs were like ready to go. We're like, let's just do this, and let's give our agents as much information as possible to be able to get out there and make deals happen and feel confident. And you guys should feel really good, because right now, as far as I'm aware, and I have conversations with other agents and other companies, EXP is the only one doing this. Everyone else is waiting. And one of the behemoths is just kind of sitting around like, ooh, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And EXP is like, we're not even waiting. We're just going to help our people now with information now. And it's going to change because the law is going to change, and, you know, probably, and as information comes out, we will move as the information comes out. So we're going to be able to give out the best information that we have to create documents, and those documents will evolve and change, and that's fine, but it's better to have something than nothing, to give you some peace of mind. So know that you're at a really, really good company. Transparency and education are tangible benefits, and that's going to be helpful to you when you're having conversations with clients. And one of the things that you should definitely emphasize when you're talking with the clients is your professional expertise, the people behind you, your support, the buyer's interests. Avoid undervaluing your service by implying that it's complimentary or seller funded. You don't want to say that anymore. So just take that out of your language. So that's for you, Michelle. It's not seller funded, and it's not complimentary. There's a fee for everything. It's time for agents to reinforce their role as a vital paid professional in the home buying journey. So know that. So why don't agents use the buyer representation agreement? Well, it's not been customary to use. Agents are fearful because they don't know what to say. Or they might even have a scarcity mindset. If I push my clients, then they won't want to purchase with me. That could be one of the things that agents think in their head, you know. Well, here's 5 top reasons why buyers would not want to sign a BRBC form. Their commitment concern. Maybe signing the BRBC form typically binds the buyer to the brokerage, restricting the buyer from working with other brokers for the duration of the agreement. You will see this when you have buyers reaching out to you. Let's say you do an open house and you have clients that come in and they say, oh, well, we're just really looking around, or we're just, you know, we've been talking to 4 other realtors, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's one thing, and we'll get to talking about that. The compensation clarity. Well, the form outlines how the broker will be compensated, which might include payments by the buyer under certain circumstances. Buyers might object if they're unclear or uncomfortable around the terms, but again, it also depends on what type of buyer they are. Are they a VA buyer? Are they a first-time buyer? That's going to be a little cloudy for those buyers if they can even afford to pay anything extra beyond what they're currently doing. Exclusivity. Buyers may not want to be tied down to one agent or a firm, preferring the flexibility to work with multiple agents or change agents if they're unsatisfied with the services. Or they might feel that there's a control or value perception. Buyers might prefer to have more direct control over their property search and the negotiations, and they might feel that signing the BRBC form limits that control. Or they might just have trust issues. If the buyer doesn't fully trust the broker or is unsure about the commitment. And Juan, just so you know, when I keep talking about the brokers, it doesn't mean like the managing brokers, it means brokerage companies. So EXP Real Estate, Coldwell Banker, those are the brokers that we're talking about. So if the buyer doesn't fully trust the broker or isn't sure about the commitment to the buyer's best interest, they may not want to sign. So the first objection was the commitment concern. So something that you could hear is, well, I'm worried that if I sign this, I'm stuck with you guys and I can't shop around or talk to other brokers if I want to. Or you might hear something like, I like keeping my options open in case I find someone else who might offer me a better deal or a different property. Or you might hear, I don't want to be tied down. Okay, go call her. I don't want Layla, thank you. You might hear from the, I know, you might hear, I don't want to be tied down to one broker without the flexibility to change my mind later on. Well, some of the things that you can say to counter any of those objections would be, well, you know, I understand your concerns about flexibility. Think of this agreement as a partnership where we're fully committed to finding your ideal home. It's like having an expert focus solely on your needs, which can actually speed up the process and get you better deals because of our exclusive resources and connections. That is such a true statement because we now have Zenlist. Zenlist, if you haven't seen or heard about Zenlist, go to your workplace chat and in your search bar, type in Zenlist and you're going to want to sign up on there. What is Zenlist? Zenlist is where it's like a, well, Michelle will understand this. When we used to go to other brokerages that we were involved in, we used to have office meetings. And in those office meetings, our peers would say, okay, now we're going to talk about who has any coming soon listings, who has any, you know, actives or, you know, any changes, et cetera. That coming soon's section of the meeting was so valuable because you got to hear about the properties that were coming up on the market, not listed. The public doesn't know about these properties yet. Right now, it seems a little more challenging, or it seemed a little more challenging because we're at EXP, we're cloud-based, we don't have the luxury of that one meeting a week where we can say, hey, what's coming soon? What do you have coming up? I might have a buyer for it. Or, hey, I have this property coming up. Does anybody have any buyers for it? You know, that kind of a thing. Zenlist is that for EXP agents now. So it's incredible. And you can see all the coming soons everywhere from EXP agents everywhere that are, and it's only everywhere, because if you guys don't know about it, you're not putting in your coming soons. But now that you know about it, you're going to sign up so you can see what's coming soon. But even better, when you have a listing, you can throw your listing in there. Well, before you have, like Michelle, you have that mobile coming up, you
Yeah.
can put that in there and you can let people know. You might get a buyer beforehand before you even list it.
And that's ZEN list,
Yes.
Zen list.
Correct.
I think I'm gonna do
Yes,
a workplace.
Zen list, like Zen. Yeah. So that's super important. Another response you can say is, well, it's important to have someone in your corner, especially in this market. By signing this, you'll have our undivided attention and access to off-market listings that aren't available through multiple brokers sources like Zillow or MLS or anything like that. Plus, our commitment is to your satisfaction. If things aren't working out, we can always reassess the agreement. So you always want to reassure them that there's an out, and be truthful about it.
It sounds like a listing appointment.
It kind of does. Yeah, so that's good because you've been on listing appointments. You already know how that flow goes.
Mhm.
You're going to use the same thing with buyers, 100%. And how you may have had, do you have like a listing presentation?
I just know if
Okay.
I have,
Don't
yeah,
have
I
like
mean,
an official one. Okay.
yeah, no, I have things I put together. Of course, I make a file, and I also do that for my buyers.
Perfect. So you're ahead of the game because there's a lot
I
of
make a
agents that
file,
don't.
yeah, with the
Awesome.
steps of the whole,
Okay,
that's
awesome.
that stuff.
Yeah. So Juan, you're definitely going to want to have two. You're going to want to have a listing presentation and then a buyer's presentation, pretty much for the same thing. Slightly different information in it, but it'll work the same way. Another objection people had was the limitations. So you could say, well, signing with us does not limit your choices. It enhances your choices. We provide a service tailored to your needs, filtering out homes that don't match your criteria and honing into the ones that do. It's about quality, not quantity. And this agreement ensures that you get the first look and the best properties every single time. So that's one way you can word it. Or you could even say, I hear you're not wanting to feel locked in, but this agreement is actually a commitment from us to you, ensuring that you're not just another client on the list. We're dedicating our time and resources to you alone, which means you'll have our expertise and negotiating power fully behind you. Or you could say, my goal is to be by your side, not in your way. This is for the ones that want to have the full-on control of managing how they find their properties. You could say, I don't want to be, not in your way. I want to be on your side. This agreement secures my commitment to you and gives you the priority access to my network experience and expertise. Remember, I'm here to build a relationship based on trust. So let's keep the lines of communication open and make sure this is working for you at every step. So those are just a few things that you can say. Or let's say there's an objection about compensation clarity. Maybe they say, I'm not sure I'm okay with the payment stuff on this form. Well, you can say, absolutely, let's clear that up. Our payment is only due when you successfully purchase a home, and it might be paid by the seller, not you. This ensures our goals align with yours, and we're motivated to help find you the perfect home. Or what if they say, it looks like I might have to pay you even in certain situations where I wouldn't expect to. Well, there's no surprises here. We operate with transparency. You'll only pay if we find you a property that you decide to buy, and we'll discuss any potential costs up front. Our success is tied to yours, which means we work hard to get you the best deal. Or let's say they say their objection is, I want to make sure I'm not going to be hit with any surprise fees or costs down the line. You can say something like, well, let's break it down. Our fee structure is designed so that we are rewarded for finding your dream home. We get paid at the closing, and typically the seller covers this. However, your satisfaction is our top priority, not the fees. Or you can say, think of our compensation as a performance guarantee. You don't pay unless we perform, finding and closing on your new home. It's a partnership where our payment is part of the final transaction, usually covered by the seller. Not guaranteed, but usually we always try to get that first. But at least you're letting them know that you're going to try to, you're working for them, or you're going to try and see if the seller will pay for it. And that you're not going to surprise them with any other hidden fees. And then another objection could be, I'm not comfortable to being locked into an exclusive deal with just one agent. You can say, well, I get where you're coming from. Our exclusive agreement is actually a benefit. It means that you get a dedicated team who's all in on your search, giving you a competitive edge. And if you're not happy, we'll talk about it. Your peace of mind is key. Or you can say something like, signing with us isn't about restriction. It's about receiving a world-class service. We're confident in our ability to meet your needs, but also, we maintain a flexible approach. If your circumstances change, we can reassess our agreement. Or you can even say something like, the exclusivity is for your advantage. It ensures you're not just another number to us. We prioritize our listings and give you our full, your listings and give you our full resources. And if you're not satisfied, we're committed to making it right. So you always let them know that there's a way around whatever their concern is, their objection. Or let's say they say they're not totally sold on this and what they're getting for their money. You can say something like, well, our expertise can often save you more than our cost by negotiating a better price and terms. We're here to give you an edge with access to homes you won't find online and insights that can only come from years in the business. And because you're new, you can even say our combined years of experience. You can use words like that. Or you can say, think of us as your real estate insiders. We don't just find you a home, we find you the right home. Plus, we handle the heavy lifting of paperwork and negotiation, making the process stress-free for you. Or you're not just paying for our service, you're investing in peace of mind. I like this one. Our job is to navigate the complex market, avoid pitfalls, and secure a deal that's in your best interest. Or you could even say, our value lies in being your advocate, from finding hidden gems to negotiating exclusives. We work tirelessly to ensure you're making an informed decision that aligns with your real estate goals. All of these, and there's more objections in here.
Where is that at?
On my notes. And
I will,
yeah, I will definitely send a lot of this out to you guys. There's also 50 thoughts and ideas to help you determine your value and your unique selling proposition for potential buyers. I mean, there's tons on here.
crazy, I like that.
These are great because if you just read all these 50 things, these are actually things that you do that you don't realize you do as a realtor representing buyers. All of these, you're going to be like, I do that, I do that, I do that. This should be, you know how, like, I always think of chickens, like they fluff up their feathers, like they're all poofy and like the roosters, right? When they're the tough one, right? Well, this should puff you up because all these 50 things that are on here should give you confidence when you're going, yeah, I'm worth X amount or X percent, whatever it is.
And
this is all.
What I like about that, you can pick and choose to your personality.
Absolutely.
And do a cheat sheet for them
Exactly.
in case you don't cover everything. When you hand them that folder, your buyer packet,
yeah,
it'll be in there some questions and objectives you might have regarding this, in case you refer to this.
Yeah, it's true. I have something called the 88, what's it called? 88, it's the 88 things, and it's for the 88 bits of turbulence that can happen in a real estate transaction. And it talks about whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, whether you're escrow, whether you're the realtor or the lender, of all the different stages in real estate. These are all the little bumps in the road that can happen along the way. And I give that way up front. I've even taken that to open houses, like, here, take this. And they're like, oh, like I had no idea. And of course, my information's on there. But this list of 50 items, it's perfect because you can put it in your buyer packet. So
yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, it just the things that we put together for them in the packet, what I like, Juan, just, are you done, Christine? I don't want to
Yeah,
take.
go ahead. Yeah, there's only 3 minutes left, so go for it.
Okay, so what I like when I do my buyer packet, my last buyers were first-time home buyers. And I wanted to have some fun with this because I wanted them to feel like I'm showing them. So we called it, they weren't ready to buy just yet. So we made field trips. And I gave them a copy of the buyer's contract, and I gave them some copies of other things. And we would go to these homes and I would say, look at this, see how it would be like a field trip to them.
Mhm.
So when they found that house they really liked that because they're like, okay, we've had some experience looking at homes already, and we're finding out what we really like, because first time home buyers, they don't know. I mean, until you start showing the homes, you see what they like, you see their faces light up, then you're kind of like, okay, now I'm kind of looking for those kind of homes.
Mhm.
And so they really appreciate that. So when we actually found the house they wanted, they were already ready to go because they had their offer ready that they studied, a blank offer pack, like a
Purchase
the
form.
RPA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they knew already what we were going to be looking at, the points. So that was kind of neat. That's how my style.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
helpful. You set them up, and there's no expectations that are left unturned or unfulfilled, because you've already set them up. So
Yes.
they can
And
always
I also
win.
made like I have like a map, like a cheat sheet of what happens from start to finish,
Mhm.
like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So when we were in contract, I'm like, okay, so you have that map. I said, look at all the steps we've gone through already. This is what's next.
Perfect.
And they were like, oh, okay, and they were understanding instead of wondering, because when the very first time I did my contract, I didn't know when the end was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember.
So when they would say, oh, are we getting there? I'm like, yeah,
Less
we're
than a
almost
minute.
there. And
Yeah.
I really didn't know.
Yeah.
Until you go through that first transaction, then you'd be like, okay, because it's repetitive. It's
And it
just the
makes sense.
situation is going to be different.
Yeah, you'll have a lot to learn. Okay, so when this recording ends, which is going to be really soon, I'll have to let it process, and then I'll upload it
Yeah.
and send it back out to you guys. But I'll send out all the other information that I was reading off of, and
Appreciate it.
the 50
Awesome.
items of 50, and the scripts.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything?
Thank you.
No. Okay.
There's a lot of things to learn.
There's a lot in
Yeah.
here. I mean,
Yeah,
we're still
but
learning.
We're still learning, yeah.
There's stuff to learn all the time.
Yeah, and one day you'll be like, I got it. And you still don't get it.
Something new will happen.
Like this,